Hey there, fellow cheapskates. Welcome to another edition of Commander Cheapskate's Battle Reports. This one is Battle Report number 6, and it is another battle involving our Hamejarr Shame campaign. And on this battle, this is a battle fought between myself, Commander Cheapskate of the Vampire Accounts, versus my two buddies, Warlord Ace and Sister Serial of the High Elves and the Bretonnians. So finally now we get to the battle campaigns where actually I get to fight because I'm involved in this campaign as well as a game master and as a player. So now we get to see how this battle turns out for Commander Cheapskate. So sit back, relax, and watch what happens when undead fight those pansy high elves and those really stuck-up Bretonnians.
He didn't fall? Inconceivable! You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Just a quick disclaimer about this battle report. You're going to notice that I made a lot of errors in this battle report. And the reason why I made so many errors in this one is this is the first time I'm ever playing Vampire Accounts. Most of the time I'm usually like an Empire, High Elf player or a Chaos Warriors player. I've never really played Vampire Accounts before, but I came into some extra money and I've always wanted to have an army, so I figured why not buy one and test it out. So you're going to notice there's a lot of errors in this battle report in terms of the rules that I use, as well as some of the photographs. I was so busy thinking about rules and trying to figure out what I was going to do, I didn't get my shot list in order, so you'll be noticing that some of these photographs have been combined into one for different phases throughout turns. So once again, I apologize.
Crom, I've never prayed you before. I have no tongue for it. No one, not even you, will remember if we were good men or bad, why we fought, or why we died. No. All that matters is that two stood against many. That's what's important. Balor pleases you, Crom. So grant me one request. Grant me revenge. And if you do not listen, then the hell with you.
Alright, so now we get to the part where we talk about the different army lists. So this is the Sing Me the Sorrow list. This is my army list for my Vampire Accounts army, so let's go through the rundown. For my Lords and Heroes choices, I have Heinrich Himmler. You know, he's a very powerful necromancer. He's also got Lore Master, so I figure since it's a low point game, I gotta get the most bang for my buck for magic, so we'll go with that guy. After him, for my 3 core choices, I have the Sleeping Dogs, which consists of 3 units of 5 Direwolves, you know, for chaff. I also got the Walking Dead, which are 2 25 zombie units. So basically with standard musician as well. So those are going to be my units that I'm going to try to beef up with magic and things like that. My special choice is called Heinrich's Sorrow. It consists of 30 Grave Guards with a Seneschal, a Standard Bearer musician, and they're equipped with the Banner of the Barrows. So that way I can get rerolls to hits and, you know, score a lot of killing blows. And my rare choice is the Calliope of Chaos. It is a Mortis engine with a Blasphemous Tome upgrade. I like all the buffs that it gives for magic, as well as regen, as well as its Dark Pulse power. And decided to have that in there for a grand spanking total of 1,290 points. Alright, and now it's time to look at my buddy Warlord Ace's High Elf army list. His army is called High Elf Army number 2. It's the second one of his armies for our campaign. So let's go through the rundown. His Lord and Hero choice was a regular mage with level 2 upgrade. His core choices consist of 2 10-man unit of archers. Each of these archer unit has a Hawkeye, a Standard Bearer, as well as a musician. His other core choice also includes 5 Illyrian Reaver Knights with upgraded with bows as well. So they have their spears and shields, but he also made them have bows as well. Now for his alliance, since he established an alliance with the Bretonnians earlier in the game, his alliance force consists of 6 Knights of the Realms, 10 men-at-arms with halberdiers, with halberds rather, and then 10 Bretonnian longbowmen. His special choice consists of 21 Phoenix Guards with a Keeper of the Flame, Standard Bearer, and a musician. And his rare choices are 2 Eagle Claw Bolt Throwers for a grand total of 1,460 points. Alright, so here's the Vampire Accounts deployment on this battlefield. Since I'm a Vampire Account, it's a pretty straightforward build on my deployment. As you can see on my flanks, I put my dire wolves there. My goal is to have those wolves give vanguard and try to march as quickly as possible across the battlefield, past that river, towards Warlord Ace's bolt throwers, and try to tie those up for a turn. In the center, I have my Grave Guard with Heinrich Himmler. He's attached to that unit. Right behind him, you have the Mortis engine, so that way the Mortis engine's buffs could also affect that Graveguard unit as well. On flanking either side of that Graveguard unit are my zombie units, which I plan to buff up with spells to make them larger as time goes on as we march across the battlefield. I try to keep my army as close-knit as possible so that way they fall within my necromancers, my general's leadership bubble, so that way they can always march. And that way I could also cast a lot of buff spells with the lore vampires and help out my units that way. Tactically, this is just a straight up forward, just charge as quickly as I can across the battlefield and get to my opponents and engage them in close combat. I don't really want to hang out here in the middle of the field too long. I need to be aggressive and try to get there as quickly as possible. So yeah, that's pretty much the tactic on this one. All right, and this is Warlord Ace's deployment on his side of the battlefield. As you can see, you got a river current across the center of it, which is going to cause me a lot of problems. So he decided to set up a wall on the other side of the river, and that's where he's defending. Right behind that wall, kind of hidden away from the view, is his Archmage with his Phoenix Guard. Either side of that wall, he has his 2 units of archers. On the extreme flanks of his army, he has his bolt throwers, as well as his Reaver Knights on the left-hand side of that army, from my point of view. He's also got men-at-arms supporting his archers on his left-hand side. He's got Knights of the Realm and Longbowmen on his right-hand side to defend the archers on that side as well. As per usual, whenever I fight these two guys in a battle, Sister Serial and Warlord Ace, they like to hang back and shoot at you as you try to march up to them. So if I had to guess what my opponent's going to do, he's just going to stand back, shoot me until I get up close, and then finish me off as best he can when I finally do close in on him. Alright, I get to go first in this battle, and so we start with Vanguard moves. As you can see on my Direwolf units, I just rock them forward 12 inches past the deployment zone for the full maximum allowance of their Vanguard movement. My opponent, Warlord Ace, decides he's not going to send out his Reaver Knights. He decides to keep them back instead. And as you can see why, as you can see, my Direwolves are moving out towards those long-range shooting units. Hopefully try to destroy the bolt throwers or tie them up as best I can before the shooting phase of my opponent actually begins. Alright, as you can see in this picture, we just start moving right off the bat. I march my Graveguard as well as my zombie units up to the full 8 inches that they can go, and actually have my Calliope of Chaos, my Mortis engine, just ducking right behind the Graveguard to catch up with them. Since my Direwolf units are not within the leadership bubble of my general, I can only just move them up the regular 8 inches that they go, so they don't really march. But as you can see there, my entire military force is assembled right on the far side, so not the far side, the near side bank of the river. And so I'm going to have to try, I can cross it if I'm lucky and use magic to do that. So let's see what happens. Which leads to the magic phase for the Vampire Count's army. I'm not much of a big magic guy, so this is like the first armor I really used that's had a lot of magic involved with it, so it's kind of interesting using that. So as you can see there, in my little ward bubble there, we get off the spell of Van Hel's Dance Macabre. We move up forward another 4 inches, but because the river cutting back on our movement, we don't go very far on that one. And then my the Dark Aura of my Mortis engine gets off its 6-up regeneration save on both my zombie units as well as my Graveguard units. So since there's no shooting in this army and since no one's engaged in close combat, that pretty much rounds up turn number 1 for the Vampire Counts. Alright, and that brings us to High Elves and Allies turn number 1. As you can see, Warlord Ace and Sister Serial decide not to move any of their units. Not really anyways, all their units pretty much stay in the same location. The only unit that does move is Warlord Ace's Phoenix Guard. They line up right behind the wall. I know you really can't see it too well, but his unit before that was actually kind of turned to the side in order to march around the wall, but he decided to take up defensive positions behind it, especially when I told him about the bonuses he receives and the penalties I receive when I try to hit him. So he decides to occupy the wall instead. Sister Serial and Warlord Ace decide to keep their units pretty much where they're located at, and since they really don't move, we go straight to their magic phase. As you can see in this picture, Warlord Ace's Mage casts off basically one spell, which is Drain Magic, up on my Graveguard unit, so they lose Van Hel's Dance Macabre, and they also lose their regen as well. So all the buffs I just received from the previous turn is now gone. And so, we know it's not so bad, because we haven't engaged in close combat yet, so no harm, no foul at this point.
This is my boomstick!
And with that, we get into the High Elf and Ally shooting phase, which is my friends' actual favorite phase to use. So you can see in this picture, the Bolt Thrower as well as the Reaver Knights open up on my left-hand flank and destroy one unit of my Direwolf, so that unit is destroyed. See here, the 2 Archer units up on the walls open up on my Graveguard unit right there in the center, and they inflict 5 wounds on that. So I'm losing 5 Graveguards on that one. On the right-hand side, the archers on the right-hand side, the longbowmen open up on my Calliope of Chaos on my Mortis engine. Don't really reflect a single wound on that one, so that one's not too bad. But Warlord Ace's bolt thrower on the right-hand side opens with a single bolt and manages to get one wound off on the Mortis engine. So right off the bat, my army is starting to take some long-range fires, which is perfectly fine because, you know, this is an undead army and I could just bring back whatever I lose. So that's kind of nice.
Give them nothing, but take from them everything!
And that brings us to the top of Vampire Accounts turn number 2 with our movement phase. As you can see in this picture, I just basically send everything charging forward. My Grave Guard, as well as my zombie units, charge into the wall, so they're engaged in hand-to-hand combat on the Phoenix Guard, as well as the archer units are mounted up on the walls. My Dire Wolves, my last remaining Dire Wolves, the left-hand flank, they try to charge, but they fail their charge rules, so all they really do is just cross the river on that one, and that's the farthest they go. So right off the bat, we are now engaged in close combat, and it's time for me to bring the pain.
I gotta sing the Doom song now! Doom, 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 doom!
As I said before, I'm not much of a magic guy, so actually getting to use magic for once in an army is kind of interesting. And that brings us to the Vampire Accounts turn 2 for magic. As you can see there in the graphic, I get off basically several bubble spells off during this time period. I get off a +1 to hit buff spell for all my units within that bubble. So my zombies, my Grave Guard, they get +1 to hit. They also get the other spell, I forgot what it's called, that gives me a buff for +1 to wound, which is kind of nice to do because it means now that my Grave Guard just has to roll 5s and they can get Killing Blow, which is also pretty epic as well. So, and plus zombies with +1 to wound is just kind of cool too. Unfortunately though, during this time period, I forget to make my opponent test for fear. Using psychology in an army is kind of new for me. Most of the time, the armies I've played have never really had any psychology rules associated with them. I don't like using a lot of monsters in my army. I like using a lot of basic troop choices and core choices for my armies. I like to go with big, massive armies instead of a few really powerful units. I like to go with bulk. So because of that, the idea of using psychology rules on my opponent is kind of new to me. So for this next round of combat, we didn't make them test for fear at all, which is kind of useless because the Phoenix Guard cause fear themselves as well. But for the archer units, though, I should have tested for that. But, you know, I forgot. First time I ever played Undead, so like I said before, my disclaimer, I'm going to make a lot of mistakes. So continuing on with the magic phase from turn 2, I get all my ward saves off. Not my ward saves, I'm sorry. I get all my +1 to wound and to hit buffs off. I also use a spell to summon up the dead. I summon about 12 zombies, which I put on the other side of the wall there. Now this picture's gonna be kind of confusing because I was so caught up in the game, I forgot to take pictures between different rounds. So this photo will count as turn 2 magic and combat for Vampire Accounts. It also counts as turn 2 movement for the High Elves. So if it gets a little confusing, I apologize on that part.
He didn't fall? Inconceivable! You keep using the horde. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Alright, as I said before, I'm going to make some really big mistakes on this battle report. As you can see on the close combat phase on this, my Graveyard unit takes 29 wounds. Now the reason why they take 29 wounds is because I made a mistake on this part. When I used to test for unstable, I thought what you had to do was roll a 2 6-sided dice and compare it to the leadership values and then take the difference from that and add it on top of the losses you took for the wounds you inflicted if you lost hand-to-hand combat. So because of that, my losses for the unstable check are hugely inflated. We read the rules later on and found out that no, you just lose the difference is all you lose. You don't have to roll and add that on top of the difference. So for my units, I took wounds from hand-to-hand combat. I took the difference in the combat results, and I also took the difference in leadership scores as well. So as you can see here, massive amounts of wounds are inflicted on my units. My zombie unit on the left-hand side takes 10 wounds. My Graveyard unit takes 29 wounds in the center. And then my other zombie unit on the right-hand side takes 5 wounds on that part. So you can see there a lot of dudes get killed really, really quickly. And that's because I misread the unstable rules. So because of that, I take a lot of losses. And losses that I didn't really necessarily take. But, you know, I'm still learning how to use this army, and so I'm just going to roll with the punches. So that's all you can really do on that part.
A minor setback, Gur. We'll be home in no time. I'll just wait until the skin grows back on my eyeballs.
Alright, and since this is also a combination of High Elves movement turn for their movement as well. You can also see where their units have moved. You can see in that picture on the left-hand side, the Reaver Knights charged forward, hit the flank of my zombies on the left-hand side. The Halberdier unit, which was originally there on the left-hand flank, have turned to face the newly summoned zombies that are now behind the wall. And the Knights of the Realm on the right-hand side have charged forward to do a flank charge on my right-hand zombie unit. So that is pretty much how movement works out for the High Elves in that picture.
Give them nothing, but take from them everything!
Alright, in this picture, this is showing you what's happening on the other side of the wall during that vampire turn to combat phase. As you can see, I inflicted 2 wounds on the archer unit there on the left-hand side from my zombies. I inflicted 5 wounds on the Phoenix Guard with my troops right there in the center. And then on the archer unit on the right-hand side, I inflicted 4 wounds on that one. And with that, that takes us to the top of High Elves turn number 2. As you saw in the previous picture, you saw how the movements he moved. So now we're starting with the High Elf magic phase for turn 2. As you can see in this picture, the Archmage has basically cast Walk Between Worlds on the Halberdier units. The Halberdier unit is now ethereal, and not only that, they also have a full 10 inches of free movement. They charge right into the zombie unit that I summoned up, which is good for them because I can't strike at the Halberdiers because they're ethereal, but the Halberdiers can easily strike back at my zombies. So that's just going to cause all kinds of problems for my armies that way. So that's pretty much the picture on that one. So yeah. And as you can see in this picture is pretty much where the game basically ends for me because of the mistakes I made on the instability special rules for the Undead Army. So we go into High Elves turn 3 for combat. As you can see in this picture, the Reaver Knights destroy my zombie unit, which is because of all the wounds they inflict, and since I made a mistake on the instability rules, that unit gets vaporized. The Reaver Knights then charge right into my Mortis Engine, and my Mortis Engine just makes short work of those Reaver Knights, so they're dead, which is kind of nice. So I'm liking the Mortis Engine a lot as a unit to be used. As you can see on the right-hand side, my zombie unit also gets destroyed pretty quickly too because of the mistakes we made on the instability rules on that one. So that zombie unit just poofs into smoke. And since my vampire count is, not my vampire count, my Heinrich Himmler is ethereal due to his Cloak of Shadow special rule, my opponent really can't inflict any wounds on me. I don't really inflict any wounds back on them. But because they have rank bonus as well as standard bearer, they beat me in combat and I lose that many number of points in terms of wounds. So because of that, Heinrich Himmler dies. And because my general of my army starts dying, all of my units around me start taking instability rolls and start losing wounds because of it. As you can see in this picture, since my general is now dead, all the undead units within the vicinity of my army starts taking crumble checks to make sure they don't die. Unfortunately for me, though, the remaining units that I have left, which is my Mortis Engine, it fails its leadership tests and it dies. It explodes. And then my Dire Wolves on the very far right-hand side of that picture, they fail their instability rolls and they die. So this battle was extremely short. If I remember correctly, this battle took place under an hour, and it was after we were totaling up to see, we were rolling off to see what's going to happen to the characters for their wins on the campaign advancement tables that we were looking at the rules. My buddy Warlord Ace was like, you know, that battle lasted way too short. You took too many losses. I think we read it wrong. And so we went back to the rule books and we read exactly how unstable works for the Undead Army and what exactly that entails. And oh man, we were just laughing up a storm afterwards because we realized why my army was so easy to defeat. My buddy Warlord Ace was like, man, you know, maybe you might want to rethink this army because, you know, this army's not really good. And then Sister Cheryl's like, yeah, I mean, your army lost like really, really fast and a little quickly. Who wants to play vampire counts? And then we read the rules and we found out why we made a huge mistake. But, you know, that's on me. As the general of my army, I should be very well versed in the rules of my army. So hopefully next time I won't make the same mistakes like I did in this army. But, you know, I'm not perfect and I'm still a novice when it comes to vampire counts. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, so pretty much this battle is over and it's time for us to do the after action report.
I thought about staying. They offered me the chance to lead them, to teach them, to be king.
Uh-huh.
But my place is here, so I swallowed the juice, said the words, and here I am.
Did you say the words right this time?
Well, maybe I didn't say every single tiny little syllable, no, but basically I said them, yeah. Basically.
All right, this is the after-action report for Battle Report number 6 of the Hamejarr Shame campaign, which was between me, Commander CheapSkate, the Vampire Counts, versus Warlord Ace and Sister Serial of the High Elves and Bretonnians. This is going to be like the world's shortest after-action report for any of my battle reports, because basically I just need to do 3 things. The very first thing I need to do is read the rules.
He didn't fall? Inconceivable. You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Yeah, just read the rules. My interpretation of the rules from Stable were horrifically bad, and so because of that, I lost a lot more troops than I was supposed to have. Maybe if I read the rules correctly, I could have, lasted a lot longer. Maybe the battle would have turned out a lot differently because I would have read the rules and I would have, been okay. So, more of the story, I suppose. Read your rules. Become very, very informed with your rules. Become an expert on the rules for your army. Make sure you look at all the little nuances about your army, and then use it to defeat your opponents. The second thing I need to do is test for fear. I didn't test for fear at all in this battle, and against those Bretonnians, it probably could have helped out a lot. Could have dropped their weapon skill down to 0, and made an even playing field for my undead warriors to fight against. So that's the thing on that one. And then the third thing I need to do, I just need to read the freaking rules. Is what I need to do. Not reading the rules really killed me on this battle. So next time, just read the rules, understand what you need to do, and just soldier on. So yeah, it was a victory. It was a defeat for me. It was a victory for my friends because I didn't do my job like I was supposed to. So now I reflect and learn about that. So yeah, next time I play Vampire Counts, it should be very, very different. So yeah, that rounds up Battle Report number 6 of Hamejarr Shame. Tune in next time to see if I learned my lesson and actually apply them in the next battle. So for now, that's all. On to the next one. See ya.